Not only were Lucky's boots falling apart and his knee really bothering him, causing him to limp, but he barely had any food left. Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Nate, and I thru-hiked the Appalachian Trail in 2015 with my wife, and we were known as the Hiking Vikings. The story I'm going to tell today is one of my fondest memories on the Appalachian Trail, and is one that I often look back upon just to boost my spirits because it makes me smile. So my wife Sharon and I were hiking through New Hampshire with Lucky, and we stuck with Lucky through New Hampshire because he was a little bit nervous about it. He was 73 years old. He had hiked, thru-hiked until that point, which, thru-hiking makes you stronger but can also weaken you. And at 73, it had really taken its toll on Lucky, and New Hampshire gets to be very difficult. So Sharon and I stuck with Lucky through New Hampshire, and he did make it through, but right as we were getting into Maine, he developed some really bad knee pain, and it really slowed him down. I remember one morning we had planned to do like 15 or 16 miles to end at a shelter, and Sharon and I, well, actually the three of us had made this plan to get off in Andover to hitch in, get a shuttle into Andover and go to the Little Red Hen, this restaurant where you can get a huge hiker breakfast. I think it was called the thru-hiker. We had that plan for a while, but that morning Lucky had told us, he said there was going to be no way that he was going to be able to keep up the pace and get off the trail, go get the breakfast, and make it to the shelter with as slow as he was hiking because of his knee. So he was just going to stay on the trail, continue hiking, and that he would meet us at the shelter. Even though Sharon and I got a quick shuttle, we went in, got our breakfast, got back to the trail, and didn't take too long. We were still expecting to meet Lucky at the shelter because, we were still off the trail for a couple hours, and we were really surprised when we came upon him early, before we got to the shelter, a couple miles early, and he was just limping and making barely any progress, and you could tell he was in a lot of pain. Not only were Lucky's boots falling apart and his knee really bothering him, causing him to limp, but he barely had any food left. And just like good friends would do, we gave him a hard time. We talked about how delicious the breakfast was, and and how we had saved him a Snickers bar and packed it out, but we got hungry on the way, and how we had eaten it on the way, and we didn't have anything for him. And it was lighthearted. We weren't rubbing it in, but it was just that kind of joking back and forth. But we were concerned with him getting to the shelter, so we had convinced him to let us look up and find out where the next road crossing was, where the next hostel was, and had convinced him that we would stay at the shelter, but he should get to the next road crossing. That was like 4 miles away in the morning, and either get a hitch in, or we gave him a number to call for a shuttle to get off the trail early, as opposed to camping and hiking another like 15 miles or whatever it would have been to get to the normal road crossing for that hostel. When we arrived at the shelter, because of the weather was supposed to turn bad and was supposed to downpour, the shelter was packed full. All the campsites were taken. But we were able to convince the guys in the shelter to move over to squeeze Lucky in, so that Lucky could stay dry that night with his leg bothering him. And Sharon and I actually ended up hiking on down the trail. Lucky, being who he is, just started telling everybody there how we had went into town and had got this huge hungry hiker breakfast, and how we didn't even bring him anything, and we did bring him a Snickers bar, but we ate it on the way, and how could we ever do that, and how could we be so inconsiderate? Lucky was really letting us have it, and you could tell he was really enjoying himself. But little did he know that Sharon and I, when we had went into Andover, we were eating that breakfast, and I looked at Sharon and I said, "You know something, we're buying one of these, and we're going to pack it out because Lucky's getting himself a hungry hiker." The look on his face when I pulled that hungry hiker out of my pack, and I can still hear it in my head to this day, him saying, "What do you got?"
We have a hungry hiker.
What have you got?
It's got butter, and this is wrapped up pretty good, but that's the maple syrup. You've got your French toast and your 3 eggs and your sausages.
All back.
I will never in my life forget that moment. You take Lucky, who didn't show it, but I knew he was at the bottom of the barrel. He was hurt. He didn't have a whole lot of food left.
You know how much food I got left? I got about 10 milks, 2 rices.
As Lucky started to dig into the hungry hiker, we said goodbye and walked on down the trail to get set up for camp before it just poured on us that night. But to add to the trail magic, the next morning we got up, and when we passed the 4-mile mark where we knew Lucky was going to get off, there was a trail angel parked at the road and was giving away coffee and donuts. And we told him that, hey, don't leave. There's going to be a hiker. He's 73 coming down off of the mountain, and he needs a ride to a hostel. And the guy stuck around. Not only did Lucky get coffee and donuts, he got a ride to the hostel and a ride to a nearby town where he replaced his boots, which he really needed to replace his boots. It just goes to show on the Appalachian Trail that no matter how bad your day's going, you never know when it's just gonna flip a switch and turn around and turn into maybe one of the best days you'll ever have.
Take it all back.
I like it, I dig it, I want more of it.